Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Sori Tongolobia, Sori Kondi. That's the talented Sierra Leonean from Sierra Leone. He's a blind man who has this special talent of playing on his specially made musical instruments from Sierra Leone, Sori Kondi. We understand he lived in New York as well, but he always demanded to go back to Sierra Leone. I mean, Sori Kondi is just one of the Sierra Leoneans who inspire us. He inspires us, he motivates us, and he makes us feel nostalgic. We want to go back home. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello everyone out there. We welcome you to Sherix Broadcast Network, another edition of this weekend. Of course, if this is your first time joining us, we want to take this opportunity right now to welcome you officially to Sherix Broadcast Network, and of course to assure you of our commitment to excellence. Of course, in this broadcast today, we have a package for you. Of course, you know we always have a package for you. So the package that we have for you today is special. Of course, we are going to be bringing you news from Sierra Leone as published by various newspapers in Sierra Leone. Miss Edline Finney is going to be here to present you with that news. And of course, we are also going to bring you a historical perspective of the All People's Congress. That's the incumbent political party in Sierra Leone that is currently ruling the country. We are going to talk to you exclusively about that political party, the chronological history of the party, the past and present leadership, the governance system or style, and of course the legacies that they are leaving behind. We're going to talk about all of that, and of course we also are going to have an exclusive interview. Miss Edline Finney is going to interview me, Ibrahim Sharif, about many of the questions that our viewers have been putting out to us, and so we're going to bring all of that to you. And of course, as you know, every week we try our level best to bring you our riddle of the week. And so we're going to also bring you that riddle of the week on this very broadcast today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to intertwine all of it with entertainment and of course with fun. So we appreciate you for coming, and of course we want you to sit tight as we continue to bring you the best of everything. This is one small Sherix Broadcast Network, the network station that stays neutral. We are not on anybody's side. We are in the middle. We stay neutral, and that is our goal here. And so we want you to join Miss Edline Finney right now in the newsroom to give you the news for the week. All right?
News, sports, entertainment and more. From Sherix Broadcast Network. Presented by the SBN News anchor, Edline Finney.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone, welcome to SBN News of the Week, and I am Edline Finney. Here are the news headlines. Makoni Times, April 13, 2016. New Tourism Minister conscious against division. Sarah Express Media, April 13, 2016. U.S. Secretary of the Navy makes first visit to Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone Times, April 14, 2016. An effort to keep girls in school and out of marriage in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone's new tourism minister Sidi Yaya Tunis assumed office with a warning against division and infighting within his ministry. Mr. Tunis said on Tuesday he will not entertain anybody seeking favor by backbiting or gossiping against their colleagues. I only have time for those who are ready to work. I have no time for idle talks. I have no time for gossiping, he said, warning that anyone who didn't want to work had the option of resigning. Tunis was speaking at a ceremony marking the handing over of official documents of the ministry to him by the outgoing minister, Ms. Kadi Sise. Tunis is one of the 3 youths who made it to cabinet as part of President Anesbai Korma's recent reshuffle. Sise, who was acting minister in the tourism ministry, has been moved to the work ministry as deputy minister. Tunis praised his predecessor for setting a good foundation for him to build on. The tourism ministry is categorized as Class C ministry, according to officials, noting that this means it attracts less attention in terms of support, including budgetary allocation. Sierra Leone aspires to match the like of Gambia, which gets a bulk of its foreign exchange from tourism. U.S. Secretary of the Navy makes first visit to Sierra Leone. United States Secretary of the Navy, William Mabus, visited Sierra Leone April 6 to 7, marking his first visit to Sierra Leone since his appointment in 2009. His visit focused on strengthening the maritime security partnership between Sierra Leone and the United States. During his 2-day visit, Secretary Mabus met with His Excellency President Ernest Bai Koroma and officials from the Office of National Security (ONS), the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources, the Sierra Leone Maritime Administration, and the Joint Maritime Committee. Secretary Mabus applauded the government of Sierra Leone for its commitment to enhance Sierra Leone's Joint Operations Center, to develop a comprehensive national maritime strategy, and to strengthen maritime law and prosecution of violators. It noted that Sierra Leone and the United States share a common interest in promoting maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. In his meetings, it discussed specific ways the United States and Sierra Leone can work together to combat illicit activities such as trafficking in persons and narcotic smuggling and illegal fishing in Sierra Leone territorial waters, and to promote legitimate commerce and sustainable fishing that contributes to Sierra Leone's economic development and food security. Secretary Mabus is the 75th United States Secretary of the Navy and the longest serving as leader of Navy and Marine Corps since World War I. An effort to keep girls in school and out of marriage in Sierra Leone. I was going to school and my mother was paying for my school fees and expenses, Haja says. But when my mother could no longer pay my fees and provide lunch for me, I found a man who agreed to support me. Initially, the agreement was that he will help me to go to school until I finish school, and then we will get married. But then we started a relationship and I ended up getting pregnant. When Haja, now 15, found out she was pregnant, she saw marriage as the only option open to her, but it put her halt to her pursuit of an education, which was why she had gotten into a relationship in the first place. It is a clear example of how poverty can expose vulnerable children to impossible life choices that push them further away from their dreams. I stopped going to school when I got pregnant because pregnant girls are not allowed to go to school, Haja says. Teenage pregnancy frequently leads to greater complications compared to older women. In the general population, Sierra Leone already have the highest rate of maternal mortality in the world, with a ratio of 1,360 mothers dying per 100,000 live births, and one of the highest rates of infant mortality, with 87 infants dying per 1,000 live births. I didn't get any health checkup while I was pregnant, Haja says. I was at home when it was time to deliver. My mother was helping me, but my baby died while I was giving birth. I am not happy that I had to drop out of school to get married, Haja says. If I had a chance to do it again, I will continue with my schooling. As this educational initiative rolls out across Sierra Leone and reaches Raibi Chiefdom in Moyamba district, where Haja lives, she may get a second chance at learning. My dream is to become a seamstress, making clothing for people, said Haja. My message to other young girls who might be thinking about getting married is that they should wait. They should focus on their education. It is important and they should not get married so young. That's the end of the news. And now back to Ibrahim for the rest of the program. An effort to keep girls in school and out of marriage in Sierra Leone. I was going.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Ms. Edline Finney with the news from the news desk. Of course, want to say a lot of thanks to you, Ms. Finney, for that news broadcast. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, next we're going to move on to our riddle of the week. And of course, this is how we every week we try to exercise our brains a little bit. We do some mental exercise just for people to think a little hard, people to think a little more than how they normally think, outside of the box, and think about what is he talking about. And so our riddle for this week is, what room can no one enter? All right, that is the riddle of the night. Think about it. Of course, you know that at the end of our broadcast, we always bring you answer to that riddle. But for now, we want you to think about it. And of course, if you want to immediately go ahead and answer that riddle, you can go to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and of course search for Sherix Broadcast Network. On our channel, you can put the answer right there under the comments section. But the riddle for this week once more is, what room can no one enter? Right? I mean, I know it's kind of crazy, but there's an answer out there. So think about it. And of course, that is how we're gonna, move forward tonight. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring you an exclusive coverage here. We are going to bring you a historical perspective of the ruling All People's Congress Party in Sierra Leone. That is the incumbent government that is currently in position of authority in Sierra Leone. We are going to bring you a historical perspective of that party. Of course, last week we brought you a historical party of the oldest political party in the country, and of course, which is now the main opposition party in the Sierra Leone. And we are talking about the Sierra Leone People's Party. That is what we covered last week. And so we promised that this week we are going to exclusively cover the All People's Congress. We're going to start from the inception of the party all the way to 2016. And so it's going to be a good history lesson, because the reason for doing this is because there are quite a lot of people who identify themselves as members of those political parties do not really understand the history of those parties. And so it is always very important for us to bring you such historical perspective. So that's what we're going to do. And so we ask that you continue to sit tight as we continue to unfold the programs to you. So continue to sit tight as we continue to bring you the program. All right? So sit tight.
All our listeners to stay tuned to this frequency. The time now is 22 minutes to 6.
Fellow citizens, this is Lieutenant Colonel S.H. King speaking. There is going to be an important announcement by the Army Commander, Brigadier J.A. Benkura.
Fellow citizens, owing to the current state of affairs, the Army has been compelled to take control of the situation until further notice. A comprehensive statement will be made as soon as possible. This statement has the full backing and support of all members of the armed forces. Any undue outside interference will be viewed with disdain.
And Colonel S.H. King. We will recall that an announcement dismissing the government from office was made by the Army Commander this afternoon. We wish to assure all informers that a large percentage of members of the Royal Parliamentary Forces will protect themselves from the adoption of this decision by the Army Commander. We therefore regard the present government as the legally constituted authority in Sierra Leone. Thank you.
As our Prime Minister speaking for Will Freetown, I am still alive and healthy by the grace of God. As you all know, things have returned to normal again, and everything is under control. It is a pity that it is hard to pass through these difficulties. I want to assure you that things could have got very much worse were it not for the help of Providence. Everything is now under control, and I appeal to all to go about their normal duties. The government is determined to fulfill its responsibility to safeguard life and the property. As I have said in one or two cases before, eternal vigilance is the price we have to pay for liberty. And it is out to all of us to be vigilant and watchful if we would want to safeguard our liberty and the liberties of our children.
That was the Prime Minister, Dr. Sierra Stevens, with a broadcast message to the nation.
As we march down to the Rio, as we march down to the Rio, our captain fell in love with a lady like a dove, and they called her name.
My dear people, this is your humble servant, the Prime Minister, Sierra Stevens, speaking to you. This is my second talk to you since the present crisis began nearly 2 days ago. First of all, I should like to thank the officers and the men of the military forces who have remained loyal to the government and who have done so much to bring the present difficulties to a solution. It is for all of us, civilians, to give every possible help and encouragement to these our military brothers in their difficult task. It is also our duty to bring to the notice of the authorities any person or persons who by word or deed attempt to stir up dissension and conflict in our midst. It is our duty, both as civilians and soldiers, to do everything possible to see that calm is restored, so that the men can go about their work, the women about their business, and our boys and girls can continue to go to school. Let us tackle the present crisis. Sierra Leone belongs to all of us. Let us put the nation's interest before everything else. May God bless you.
Listening to the latest message from the Prime Minister of Sierra Leone, Dr. Sierra Stevens.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the historical perspective of the All People's Congress, the APC. Of course, you saw the APC rally right there in Bo City in 1970. Of course, we want to say a lot of thanks and appreciation to Ted Cox, who was a former U.S. Peace Corps in Sierra Leone at that time. He made a very good decision to record that announcement. Of course, that was the APC in those times. You know, the politics of the country was purely marked by military coups, demonstrations, strikes, and all those things. And so, as you can tell from that video and other historical perspectives. And so now to talk exclusively about the APC. We want to first of all bring you some of the latest events that have been going on in the country, and so we position you for you to understand basically that we are talking about one of the poorest countries in the world, you know, and so we want to bring you some of the historical perspectives. I mean, some of the recent events that have been taking place in Sierra Leone. So stick around. Is Freetown, Sierra Leone. Quite recently in 2015, the entire city was flooded. I mean, we can blame the flooding on the global warming, or you know, we can blame it on the global warming, but it more has to do with an understanding of what the global warming is, and for the leadership, national leadership of the country to step up, you know, activities or modalities or solutions to take care of the environment. And so what you are seeing right now is a flooding that took place right in Freetown, which is the capital of Sierra Leone. And in that flooding, some Sierra Leoneans lost their lives, right? And so that is just one of the major events that took place in the country. Of course, we have also been hearing about a lot of fire, you know, houses burning down. We are not sure what are the causes of these fires, if it is whether it is caused by global warming or whether it is caused by human beings or human activities. We are not sure. But there have been quite a lot of fire activities in Freetown or Sierra Leone generally, houses burning down, you know, and then of course a flooding happening in the country. Of course, as you know, there was this very sudden outbreak of the Ebola disease that claimed the lives of almost 4,000 Sierra Leoneans. And of course, before that, there was an 11-year civil war that took the lives of thousands of Sierra Leoneans, of some of whom, in fact, lost their limbs. And so quite a lot of traumatic activities have been taking place in Sierra Leone. And so the government that is in power right now, the All People's Congress government, is the one that we are going to talk about today. Of course, we are going to bring you a historical perspective of that government or the political party that is in power right now. But before that, let us see what international journalists are thinking about Sierra Leone. All right, so stick around.
Good evening, and welcome to a special news feature. I'm Spencer Sterry.
And I'm Stacy Lambert. Today, we would like to introduce you to Ernest Bay Koroma. Inaugurated in September 2007, Koroma is the president of Sierra Leone, a small West African country currently notorious for its 2014 outbreak of the Ebola virus. In Koroma's inauguration speech in 2007, he declared his zero-tolerance policy on corruption and vowed to stop the mismanagement of his country's resources. Sierra Leone had been gripped in a vicious civil war from 1991 to 2002. For a country with a population of only 6 million, the civil war was devastating. 50,000 people died, 100,000 civilians were mutilated, and roughly 1/3 of the country was displaced. Diamond smuggling was the country's biggest business, and many of the mines were unlicensed and unregulated. Officials were bribed to turn a blind eye to the poor treatment of workers and the sale of goods. The civil war ended in 2002, but corruption did not. In 2013, the managing director of the country's largest bank and several other high-ranking employees were charged with fraud. The chief medical officer was charged with misappropriating over $500,000 of grant money.
If the fight to end corruption was difficult before, it is especially difficult now. In May 2014, an Ebola epidemic erupted in Sierra Leone. A state of emergency was declared as deaths rose exponentially into the hundreds and then the thousands. 11,000 cases of the disease and more than 3,500 deaths were reported as Ebola raged across West Africa. With a fatality rate of 50%, Sierra Leone's infrastructure took a major hit. 12 nurses died as hospitals were overwhelmed with the infected. The borders to Guinea and Liberia were closed, and this stymied Sierra Leone's economy, which relied heavily on the trade of goods with neighboring countries. The Western world was quick to respond, however. Millions of dollars in emergency relief entered Sierra Leone, joining taxpayer dollars raised in the country itself.
Recent investigations have found that not all this money was used in the fight against Ebola. Roughly 1/3 of the money allocated for the fight was unaccounted for in 2014. The Ministry of Health and Education failed to provide documentation for the purchase of 50 ambulances and the construction of a treatment center. An Al Jazeera report found that many of those who were quarantined did not receive proper supplies during their time in isolation. Some families had to rely on rations of rice for weeks, prompting a World Health Organization coordinator to say that the quarantined food distribution system is broken.
Disease control centers all across the world scrambled to join the fight against Ebola, but it has not been without its controversy. An ethical debate was ignited when the World Health Organization announced that it was ethical to use untested vaccines in the fight against Ebola. The normal testing period for a vaccine is anywhere between 3 and 5 years, but the severity of the Ebola justified the use of untested vaccines.
One of the largest issues when testing vaccines in disease-affected areas of Africa is that there's a significant language barrier, and the vaccines are often given without consent of the patient.
Untested vaccines have been a major source of conflict in Africa. In 1996, the Nigerian city of Kano was the site of a major pharmaceutical incident. The drug conglomerate Pfizer tested a new meningitis antibiotic called Trovan. In a clinical test, they gave 100 children Trovan and another 100 children a lesser dose of the gold standard treatment. Those given the gold standard should have been given a full dose, but it was alleged in a lawsuit that Pfizer purposely underdosed the children to skew the results of the test in their favor. Trovan was known to cause joint damage, abnormal cartilage growth, and liver damage. 11 children died in the trial, 5 of whom had been given the Trovan vaccine, and 6 who had been given the lower dose of the gold standard.
Though President Koroma seems to have tried his hardest to manage the Ebola epidemic and keep his citizens safe, there's still a large amount of discontent among Sierra Leone's people.
Any disease outbreak puts a major strain on the infected country, but Sierra Leone has been hit especially hard due to its long history of corruption. If the funds are not properly distributed and the supplies do not reach their intended destinations, how is any country supposed to battle a raging epidemic? In the face of such adversity, President Koroma has stayed as strong as possible. He recently penned an open letter to his country praising their efforts and also rallying the population, but there is still a long road ahead. Unless he can purge the corruption from Sierra Leone's system, they leave themselves open for more debilitating epidemics and political unrest.
And that's our presentation. I'm Stacey Lambert.
And I'm Spencer Sterry.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely that was some of the current events that are taking place in Sierra Leone. Of course, you see that it's a country that has gone through quite a lot and continues to go through quite a lot. And so today we are going to talk exclusively about the All People's Congress of Sierra Leone. That is the political party that is presently in government. That is the current government of Sierra Leone, the party that formed the current government of Sierra Leone. And of course, according to the constitution of that political party, the chairman and leader of that political party is automatically the presidential candidate of the party. And so the president of Sierra Leone also happens to be the chairman and leader of the APC. All right? And so talking about this political party, like we talked about the SLPP in the previous week, we want to bring you a historical perspective of this party. All right? And so the APC, or the All People's Congress, we are going to be using APC throughout this broadcast because it stands for All People's Congress. And so the APC was founded by late Shaka Probin Stevens in 1960. Okay, even though Shaka Probin Stevens was joined by other people who were the original founders of the party, but just like Sir Miti Maga and Sir Albert Maga are prominent names that are associated with the SLPP, the name Shaka Probin Stevens is prominently associated with the APC. All right, so this party was founded by him, Shaka Probin Stevens. Soon we are going to be talking about him. And it was founded in 1960. Of course, their first meeting took place on Elba Street in Eastern Freetown by Fobero, right? That's where they had their first meeting. And so what is the concept of the APC? On what concept was it founded? The APC was founded on a radical ideology based on socialist ideas, right? So APC party is a radical party. Their ideologies are based on radical ideologies and it is based on socialist ideas. And so For those who are members of the APC and who are not privy to this information, you should know that your political party's concept is a radical ideology based on socialist ideas. And so we're going to move forward to talk to continue to talk more about the party itself. And so next we're going to talk about the founders of the party, or how the party came about. All right. And so on your screen you can see that Shaka Stevens, who is the original founder of the SLPP, and Sir Albert Magai, who later became Prime Minister of Sierra Leone under the SLPP, were bosom friends. They were close friends. All right. But then, whilst they were close friends, they formed a political party in Sierra Leone that was called the People's National Party, or the PNP, which later some members in the other political parties refer to as Pikin na Pikin. And in English, that is a Creole language, Pikin na Pikin, PNP. In English, what that means is a child is a child. And why did they say that? Is because Shaka Stevens and Albert Magai were very young Sierra Leoneans who seemed to have been challenging the elders of the country who were leading the other political party, the SLPP. And so when they formed their own political party, the elders referred to them as a child is a child, because their party was People's National Party, PNP, and in our lingua franca that means Pikin na Pikin. All right, so that was what was going on. And so the two of them, Shaka Stevens was a union leader. He was a leader of the trade unions. And of course, Albert Magai was a lawyer from London. He came back to the country and he was very vibrant. And so what happened? Then there was a news that broke out, because when they were forming this political party, leaders of the Sierra Leone People's Party were in very strong negotiation with the British government to allow Sierra Leone to be independent, to gain its independence from the British colonial rule. And so this conversation was very heated, because at first Britain did not want to grant independence to Sierra Leone. But the conversation was going on, the meetings were going on, the conferences were going on. And so suddenly Albert Magai heard the news that the British government has now finally agreed to grant independence to Sierra Leone, and that the Sierra Leone People's Party was going to lead that independence negotiations. And so because of that, Albert Magai broke away from the PNP, from Shaka Stevens, and he went back to the SLPP. And so that's what happened. And so what happened? Shaka Stevens, with the support from Northern Province and pockets of Western area, he was able to form the APC. All right? He was able to form the APC. Now, because of, at the time that he formed the APC, the formation of the APC was based on that original concept. And that concept was that it is a radical political party that is based on socialist ideas. So they were able to sell the idea to the people of Sierra Leone, especially in the Northern Province and Western area, that they are there to stand for the rights of the people, to be the voice for the voiceless. And so they became very popular, right? The APC became very popular because of those socialist ideas. And so because Shaka Stevens thought that now they were very popular, and so he initiated a campaign against the independence talks in London through what? Violence and thuggery. All right? So there was violence. This political party, the APC, perpetrated violence and thuggery against the independence conversation that was going on in London, because the Shaka Stevens and others did not want the independence to come. They wanted elections before independence, because he thought he was very much popular to the point that he can win a national election. So if he had allowed independence, or if he allowed independence, of course, that's going to rid him of the opportunity to become the next president of the country. So he was advocating strongly for elections before independence. And so because he did not see that, so what did he do? The campaign that he launched was purely violent and through thuggery. all right, in the country. That is fact. And so when that happened, before independence was granted, Sir Miti Magai, who was leading the independence conversation in London, ordered the arrest of Shaka Stevens and his followers, who remained under detention until after the 1961 independence. So because of the violence that they perpetrated whilst the independence negotiation was going on, being that he was the chief minister representing Sierra Leoneans to the British, Sir Miti Magai was able to order the arrest of Shaka Stevens that you see in the picture out there. All right? And so next, what happened? You know, what happened next? All right, next what happened was that upon release from detention, Shaka Stevens and his followers continued to mount opposition to the government of Sir Miti Magai. The goal was to bring the all-powerful Magai down. Because see, Shaka Stevens had thought that Sir Miti Magai was too powerful, to the extent that he is taking decisions on behalf of the country, and he did not like that. So the main goal of his campaign was to bring Sir Miti Magai down, because that was the main voice, that was the main force in the SLPP or even at national level. So the campaign was more about bringing the most powerful man in the country down. All right, so that was after Shaka Stevens and his followers were released from prison. All right, and then in 1962, APC won 20 of the 62 seats in parliament. Those seats were won because of support from North, the West, and Kono, as APC was seen as the voice of the workers. So many of the workers, because you see, like we said, Shaka Stevens was a trade unionist. He was a union worker. He was somebody who stood for the rights of people who were working in Sierra Leone, the workers, the employees. And so the people in the North, the West, and Kono district thought that he was advocating for their rights. And so because of that, APC won 20 seats in parliament out of 62. All right? Okay, and then based on that popularity, Shaka Stevens was elected a mayor of Freetown. Now that was a major thing for him. For you to be elected mayor of Freetown, it means you are going very close to national leadership. So he was elected mayor of Freetown, which is the capital city of Sierra Leone. Now, despite Prime Minister Albert Magai's progressive government with a boom, because at this time now that he was mayor of the city of Freetown, Sir Miti Magai had passed away. And so his younger brother, Sir Albert Magai, took over the reins of government as Prime Minister under the Sierra Leone People's Party. And so he was a very progressive leader. Now, under his leadership, there was a boom in the economy. He was able to establish a lot of schools in the country. He allowed the press to be free. There was, press freedom in the country. And then he was able to incorporate ideas from even the opposition, right? But still, Shaka Stevens was using this opportunity when the country was a little stable. He was using this opportunity to build up a political machinery so that he can take that to the 1967 election. And so which in fact helped him to win the 1967 election by a very narrow margin. The APC won the 1967 elections because of how crafty Shaka Stevens was, working in the background, developing this political machinery against the government that was doing very well. All right, this government was doing very well at that time. And so what happened next? We're going to move forward. All right, we're going to move forward. All right, and so next is military regimes are going to come in. All right, and so before Shaka Stevens, when Shaka Stevens won the 1967 elections, or the APC won the 1967 elections, he, by the constitution of the country, he should have been sworn in as the next prime minister of the country. But before that happened, there were rumors that Sir Albert Magai had a conversation with the then leader of the Sierra Leone military by the name of Brigadier David Lansana. And so Brigadier David Lansana overthrew the government, took over the government. Before Shaka Stevens could be sworn in as Prime Minister, a military coup led by Brigadier David Lansana and supported by Sir Albert Magai took over government. All right, and then when that happened, a counter coup led by junior military officers overthrew David Lansana's government and arrested him and Sir Albert Magai, and then they suspended the constitution and removed the Governor General Sir Lightfoot Boston. All right, so the junior officers took over immediately from David Lansana and they suspended the constitution, arrested, Brigadier Lansana, Albert Magai, and they suspended the Governor General by then of the country, Sir Lightfoot Boston. All right, and so what happened next? Few days later, Brigadier Johnson Smith, the man that you see in the picture in the white military attire in the front, he's actually right there with the then Liberian president, President Tubman, who visited him in 1969. They are both there together. But then Brigadier Johnson Smith overthrew the junior officers in another coup. All right, and then he stayed in that position for 1 year. After 1 year, warrant officers of the military overthrew Johnson Smith as well. So many military coups are taking place at this time. That is between 1967 and going down. A lot of military overthrows are taking place. All right, and so it was Chief Justice Tijansi, who was also Governor General, brought Shaka Stevens back to power. All right, he was able to bring Shaka Stevens back to power in 1968. He brought him back to power at that time. And so what happened next? We're going to keep moving on. What happened next? All right, now Shaka Stevens' government went through serious instability with another coup attempt. I mean, at the start of this broadcast, there was a coup attempt that we saw a video of which Ted Koz, who was the former United States Peace Corps to Sierra Leone, recorded. That is the other Peace Corps that took place while Shaka Stevens was now the Prime Minister of the country, and the country went through a whole lot of instability at that time. I mean, at this time now, people were, very worried about their lives. The country was not safe anymore. Country going through military, interregnums, political parties. People were divided between political parties, and all of that was going on. All right. And so 1971, Shaka Stevens declared a Republican constitution. All right, in 1971, because of all of the instability going on, he declared a Republican constitution. Now, between 1973 and 1977, the elections were all marred by violence. Between 1973 and 1977, all elections that took place in Sierra Leone were marred by violence. So for 4 years, all right, elections were marred by violence. All right, and then in 1978, the APC-dominated parliament passed a one-party state in Sierra Leone. All right, so now APC was dominating in parliament. They were more in number in parliament, so they used that opportunity to pass laws, and they were able to pass a one-party state bill that no other political party in Sierra Leone will operate or will function. It was only now the All People's Congress, no other political party. So this was like a communist regime now. Now you have to listen to the APC or you will not survive. All right? And so that is what happened. Now that is very similar to what is going on right at this moment, because APC is still in the majority in parliament as I speak. So now it's not a one-party state, but it almost looks like that, because the president right now has been able to take quite a lot of decisions that are considered as unconstitutional, but then nothing is happening to him because majority in parliament are members of his political party, and he happens to be the chairman and leader of that political party. So you see how power is concentrated in the hands of the president. So nobody is able to do anything right now. So people keep asking, what can the SLPP do? The SLPP is the main opposition party. What has it done? The SLPP has not done anything because they are a minority in parliament. And of course, the majority in parliament is the incumbent government. Similar thing happened like that in 1978. So hopefully we will not have another one-party state. Okay? So now what happened? The civil service and the judiciary suffered interference from the APC government. Now, when the APC dominated parliament, passed the one-party state bill in parliament, the APC party used the opportunity now to interfere into the activities of the Justice Department of the country, the judiciary, and the civil service. They instructed the civil service to operate in their own way, and the Justice Department to also do things according to their liking. So this is exactly what happened. All right? And then what happened next? The SLPP members in parliament were also allowed to support the APC, and some of whom were even given cabinet positions. You know, so APC appointed some of the SLPP members because now they have no choice. There was no choice anymore. It's a one-party state, so SLPP was not functioning anymore. So the only way you can survive is for you to accept positions in the APC, or you support them, or you stay silent. So there were some people who decided to stay silent in the SLPP. Some of those prominent names are out there, like late Manapaka, late GK Safar. These people decided to completely ignore the APC. But then there were other members who decided to support and accept cabinet positions in the APC because it was a one-party state. All right? And so what happened next? Right? We're going to go to the next. What happened next? So next, in 1985, all right, Shaka Stevens was now getting tired. He was getting old. So in 1985, Shaka Stevens handed power peacefully over to the head of the military at that time in the person of Major General Joseph Saidu Momo. So Joseph Saidu Momo, who was the head of the military, that's the man you're seeing right now on your screen. That's the man to whom Shaka Stevens handed power back to. Because you see, Shaka Stevens is very crafty. Everybody was expecting that his vice president, the most notable one, because he had two vice presidents, S.I. Kuruma and C.A. Kamara Taylor, he thought, everybody in the country thought that one of them was going to be taken over after him. But he did not hand over power to any of them or to either of them. He decided to hand over power to the leader of the military. Some people say it was that decision had a psychological effect on it because he was trying to play on the psyche of the people of Sierra Leone, especially those who were in opposition of his ruling. That once it is a military person that is in operation, that is in governance, as the head of state, then of course nobody would have the guts to do anything in the country. So he handed power over to Major General Joseph Saidu Momo. And then what happened? S.I. Kuruma, who was the first vice president and the expected successor to Stevens, instead resigned together with Shaka Stevens. All right? So today, this is what the APC uses. They say S.I. Kuruma was the most obedient vice president in Sierra Leone. They used that against Honorable Samuel Sam Sumana, that he was not obedient to the president. S.I. Kuruma was. But then those are those times. It is not the same now. It is a new era. Things have changed. All right? Let's move forward. And so what happened? The only candidate then who contested in the 1985 election was Joseph Saidu Momo with 99% vote. So even as a military leader, well, before he took over as the leader of the country, the APC party had made Joseph Saidu Momo as the Secretary General of the party, and so that is where some people started noticing that he was going to take over after the president. And then when he took over, he decided to keep the one-party thing in place. And so there was no other candidate that stood against him. it was only him. So he won the elections of the country by 99%. All right? We don't know what election was that, but he won it. And then Momo called for early elections also. Shaka Stevens felt Momo was not the right man then to follow in his footsteps. Now, because when he came in power, he was a genuine man. He wanted to do things a little differently. And so he started changing his ideologies. He started changing his actions. And so instead of perpetuating himself in power, he decided to call an early elections. And so Shaka Stephen, who had handed power over to Momo, started to feel some other way. He said, I don't think this guy is the man that would have taken over after me. I have made a blunder. All right? And so then there was a coup d'etat against President Momo. There was a coup against President Momo, which was led by Shaka Stevens' bodyguard. All right? But that coup d'etat was foiled, and top cabinet ministers were arrested, 6 were hanged, 6 were given life imprisonment, and 4 were released. And we even understand that Shaka Stevens himself was under house arrest for his involvement in that coup. But that was maybe one of the top secrets that APC was able to keep. But there was that understanding that Shaka Stevens was under house arrest as a result of that coup d'etat. All right? And so what happened next? We're going to move next after that. All right? And so all right. And so what happened next after that was in 1991, Joseph Saidu Momo allowed multi-party democracy again in Sierra Leone. So from 1978 all the way to 1991, it was one-party state. So 1991, Joseph Saidu Momo finally decided to allow a multi-party democracy in Sierra Leone. That is when other political parties like the SLPP decided to meet and to reorganize. And so the first meeting of the SLPP took place in Freetown. And that was when the SLPP came together and voted unanimously for late Honorable Salia Jushu Sherif, Mada Salia Jushu Sherif, as the national leader or chairman of the party. All right? And then in the same 1991, the Revolutionary United Front, or the RUF, led by late Corporal Fode Sebene Sanko, waged a civil war on the allegation of corruption, abject poverty, greed, selfishness, nepotism, and more. So a civil war was launched from the eastern part of the country, led by the man you are seeing on your screen right now. Right? He led a very brutal civil war, a civil war that took the lives of thousands of Sierra Leoneans and made millions of Sierra Leoneans displaced and hack off limbs of thousands of Sierra Leoneans. That was the most, some people say it was the most brutal civil war that has ever taken place on the face of this planet. All right? So that civil war lasted for 11 years. It was led by Fode Sebene Sanko, the man you see in the photo on your screen, and with the people back there. So even though there was a multi-party activities going on in the country, there was still a civil war in the country going on at the same time. All right? And so on April 29, 1992, Joseph Saidu Momo and the APC government were overthrown by young military officers. And that is, we are talking about the National Provisional Ruling Council. These were young military officers who were fighting at the war front. They came to the capital city on the allegation of them not having the proper arms and ammunition to fight the rebels in the bush. And so they came over to Freetown on the allegation of meeting the president and putting their problems to them. But because the president couldn't stand them, they overthrew the APC government after almost 25 years in power. The APC government was overthrown on April 29, 1992. All right? And so one of the military officers is now Brigadier General Julius Madabio, who is aspiring to be the next flag bearer in the Sierra Leone People's Party, the opposition party. All right, so that's what is going on. And so in 1996, the SLPP was again re-elected in a proportional election. And that is the Sierra Leone People's Party, which is now in opposition, was elected to power. Became the official government of the country. All right, so let's keep moving on. What happened next after that? Because bear with me a little bit. All right, and so in 2007, Ernest Bai Koroma, who is now the current president, and the APC were elected in a tensely contested election. All right, in 2007, the election was very highly contested because the SLPP was the incumbent, and they went into the elections, and the elections had to go to a runoff, to a round two, because neither of them, the current president and the flag bearer or the presidential candidate of the SLPP then, in the person of Mr. Solomon Ekuma Berewa, neither of them could come up with a percentage that were 55% that was legitimately the percentage that you have to get in order for you to be declared as the president of the country. So there was a runoff election. All right, and in that runoff, after the runoff, the APC and Ernest Bai Koroma won in that election. And then Ernest Bai Koroma has done some things in the country that we can recommend. Of course, the SLPP, which is the incumbent, the opposition party, claims that before they left the office, before they left power, they left quite a substantial amount of money that was meant for infrastructure in Sierra Leone. All right? And so when APC came to power, they have used that money to reconstruct major roads in Sierra Leone, and of course to reconstruct the international airport, as you can see in the picture right now. So this president was able to do that, and of course Sierra Leone was again referred to as one of the best democracies in Africa and the fastly growing economy in the world. All right, at that time. And so what happened after that? So now let us now say, because this is the current president in power right now, Ernest Bai Koroma. So what will be the legacies of this president when he finally leaves office? What are people going to remember? What are some of the things people are going to think about as far as Ernest Bai Koroma is concerned? All right, what are the things that they are going to think about? So these are based on fact. And so Ernest Bai Koroma, who is the current president, will be remembered by Sierra Leoneans as a president under whose watch there was a plane that was full of cocaine, illegal drugs, that came from Southern America and flew into Freetown, and in which one of his ministers was highly involved. And so that gave a very bad reputation to Sierra Leone as a country, even though he ended up sacking that minister, but then that legacy remains, that it was under the watch of this president that stuff like that happened. It was also under this president that we have seen the practice of politics of non-inclusion, because most of his cabinet ministers that he appoints into positions, or even people that he appoints to become leaders of institutions and parastatals, have strong links with either the APC or they came from the Northern Province. So he will be remembered by Sierra Leoneans for those kind of appointments that he has made consistently in all of his cabinet reshuffles. This is the style he has kept. So he will be remembered for that. All right. This president will also be remembered for reigniting political tensions in the country. After 11 years of brutal civil war, it is only this president that has reignited political tensions, where people are demonstrating on the streets, where people are demonstrating all over the world, all right, because of what they refer to as a constitutional crisis or a constitutional violation for sacking the vice president of the country that was elected by the people together with him on the same ticket. And so because of that, people were almost afraid that Sierra Leone was again descending into another civil conflict. And so this president will be remembered for reigniting political tensions. And of course, how about the Ebola outbreak and the mismanagement? Now, this president will be remembered. In fact, some people call him the Ebola president. Now, we are not going to call him that way, but we are going to say he is going to be remembered for the outbreak of the Ebola disease in Sierra Leone, because it was under his leadership that the Ebola crisis entered the country. The Ebola crisis, the Ebola disease was in Guinea, a neighboring country, for a couple of months before it went to Liberia and then came to Sierra Leone. This president was unable to either stop the Ebola from entering the country or curtailing the devastating effects of that disease in the country. And how about the mismanagement of the Ebola funds? About $14 million of the money that other countries sent to Sierra Leone to manage the Ebola crisis were deemed as mismanaged. And so this president will be remembered for the mismanagement of those funds. Up to this time, nobody has accounted for $14 million of that money. Up to date, victims are suffering. And of course, Sierra Leoneans do not know what Sierra Leone actually benefited from the outbreak of the Ebola disease. Were hospitals built to manage this type of health crisis in case it reoccurs in Sierra Leone? No. Were Sierra Leoneans trained in their massive numbers to be able to manage this crisis in case it reoccurs in the country? No. So this president will be remembered for the Ebola outbreak and the mismanagement of that disease. All right. And also, this president will be remembered for a constitutional crisis, like we have said. He will be remembered for poor environmental policy. Like when we started this broadcast, we showed you the flooding that took place in Freetown. You know, we showed you the many fires that are taking place, how the city of Freetown is dirty. If you go to the Crew Bay community, you can see that this place is dirty, and this president is not looking at all of those. What are his environmental policies? He will be remembered for a very poor environmental policy. This president will also be remembered for allegation of massive corruption. All right, it is now all over the world. It is not coming from us. It is coming from other, media outlets and other country leadership that Sierra Leone, like Transparency International, just issued a report that Sierra Leone is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And so this president will be remembered for that as well. All right? And so there is also an allegation of attempt by this president to extend his term of office. Now, if he does that, he is going to be remembered for that also, because a lot of people refer to that as unconstitutional at the same time. And now there is also, he will also be remembered for the neglect of geographical areas of the country for political reasons. Kenema, as an example. Like in our previous broadcast, we showed you the city streets of Sierra Leone. You saw how the streets of Makeni have been reconstructed and paved. You saw how parts of Bo have been reconstructed and paved. And so Kenema is the only city among the three main cities in Sierra Leone that has its streets still running with mud and dirt. This president has completely abandoned. And of course, his vice president went to Kenema and the Eastern Province and told the people out there that the APC, or the All People's Congress, is a party that falls for people who fall for it. And so because the people of Kenema have not fallen for the NCWP, so this government is not going to fall for the people of Kenema. And so this president will be remembered for regional and regional politics, And so the people of Kenema overwhelmingly support the opposition Sierra Leone People's Party, or the SLPP, and so they are not going to benefit from the national development programs that this government has. And also, this president is going to go down history. He's going to be remembered for the economic hardship and unemployment, massive unemployment, especially among youth in the country, that is going on. All right? He'll be remembered for that. And then he will also be remembered for meddling in the internal politics of the opposition party. I mean, we saw that during the Ebola crisis, when it was going down, other aspirants for the position of flag bearer wanting to go around the country and talk to their bases about how to manage the Ebola crisis, how to prevent Ebola, how they can play their own part in helping the people to understand the graveness of the disease. But this government, headed by this president, refused to give permission to those flag bearer aspirants. But then one from among them, who is the former a leader under the military regime in the person of Brigadier General Julius Madabio, was given a rare carpet treatment in Sierra Leone to go right around the country and talk to the people. So a lot of people think that this president is meddling in the internal affairs of the opposition political party. So he will be remembered for that as well. And this president will also be remembered for tampering with the fragile democracy that Sierra Leone is currently benefiting from. And so that is the All People's Congress, and this is the President, Ernest Bai Koroma. This is what we have for you guys today in this broadcast. And everything we have said here, are based on fact. Nothing is made up. Everything is based on fact. But in case you disagree with us, please go on YouTube and go to Sherix Broadcast Network YouTube channel, and under the comment section of the recorded version of this broadcast, you can write your comments and we can see it. If we have said anything here that is wrong, we have no problem to publicly apologize for it. Everything that we have said here is true. And so that is the All People's Congress, and of course that is the President Ernest Bai Koroma. So next we are going to bring you a quick video that will tell you about, why some countries remain corrupt, why some countries are very slow to develop, why some countries are very slow to improve on the conditions of life for their people. So we're going to bring that to you right at this moment, all right?
There are 196 countries in the world. 25 of them are very rich, defined as having an average wealth per person of over $100,000 a year.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am not sure if you got audio from that video, but definitely that video was talking purely about the reasons as to why poor countries remain poor. Some of the reasons they just gave. So I'm not sure if I can bring you that video again. So bear with me for a second because I want to bring it to you again.
It will qualify as over $100,000 a year. They are. But far more countries are quite poor, and some, which we're considering here, are very, very poor. These are the 20 poorest countries in the world, where the per capita wealth is under $1,000 a year, or under $3 a day. Every country is now more or less on a path to growth, but the poor ones are growing very, very slowly. If Zimbabwe continues at its current growth rate, it will qualify as a rich country in 2,722 years. What we want to know in this film is why some countries prosper and others stagnate, so that we can understand what rich countries are doing right and get a better grip on the challenges and hurdles facing poor countries. There are basically three factors that determine whether a country will be rich or poor. The first is institutions. Institutions are beyond important. Broadly speaking, rich countries have good institutions and poor ones have very, very bad ones. The correlation between poverty and corruption is direct. The richest countries in the world are quite simply invariably also the least corrupt ones. And the most corrupt countries are also the poorest. When countries are corrupt, they can't collect enough taxes to get the good institutions they would need to escape the poverty trap. Half of the wealth of the world's poorest 20 countries goes into offshore accounts. Lost revenues in these countries totals between $10 and $20 billion a year. Meanwhile, without an adequate tax base, poor countries can't invest in police, education, health and transport. Now, a more generous way to look at corruption is that it's really a case of clan-based thinking. Say you're hiring someone. In the rich countries, you're meant to do so simply on merit, interviewing lots of candidates, then picking the best one, irrespective of any personal connection. But in poor countries, under the sway of clan-based thinking, that approach would itself be seen as corrupt. It's your duty to disregard the so-called best candidate from an anonymous bunch in order to pick someone from your own team, your uncle, your brother, your second cousin, the guys from the same tribe. As a result, poor countries don't allow themselves access to the intelligence and talent of the whole population. There's a second thing that keeps countries poor: culture. What goes on in people's minds, their outlooks and beliefs. A striking statistic pops up here in relation to religion. If there's one generalization you can make about religion and wealth, it's that the less people believe, the richer they stand a chance of being. 19 of the richest countries in the world have 70% or more of their populations saying that religion is not at all important to them. The exception here is, unsurprisingly, the United States, which manages to combine great religiosity with huge wealth. More on that in a second. And conversely, the poorest nations in the world are also extremely believing ones. Here's how many people think religion and the supernatural is deeply important in the following countries. In the world's poorest country, simply everyone is a believer. Why is belief quite so bad for wealth creation? Because in general, religiosity is connected up with the idea that the here and now can't be improved, so you should focus on the spiritual and look forward to a next world instead. It makes quite a bit of sense when you live here. In the rich world...
All right, and so ladies and gentlemen, that you saw that, you heard it, and so basically those are some of the conditions that makes a poor country stays poor or a rich country continues to be rich. And so hopefully our leadership will be able to watch this video and learn a little lesson from that, because everything that is in that video is a summary of everything that we need to do in order to improve for the lives and condition in our country, because Sierra Leone is a country with more than 32 different types of minerals. So everybody keeps saying that, but then we do not know how to manage our own natural resources to the benefit of the citizens. And so that was a video that we decided to bring to you exclusively as Sierra Leoneans, so we can learn some very good lessons. And so we are going to bring you an exclusive interview that took place here at Sherix Broadcast Network. Of course, Ms. Edline Finney interviewed me as the founder and director of Sherix Broadcast Network on a range of issues or questions that she posed to me regarding some of the questions that our viewers have been asking. And so we took our time to provide answers to those questions. So we are going to bring you that in our next, we are going to bring you that next. But before that, we want to go back to Sorikondi to give us Tongolobia. Of course, that's our Jagwe. He's Lokobai tribe and he's our Jagwe. Because you can see how he speaks Mende, or the local tribe, which is very similar to Mende. So once more, before the interview, here we go with Sorikondi. All right?
Mahadunya gaya solinga ibere oh ainunga
Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga
Soli kabunyani Soli kondi kabunyani Waibodo madi alanga pelenga enje Waibodo madi alanga pelenga enje Mahadunya gaya lunana goyere oh ainunga ngewala
Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga
nunga goyere solingo yebere wai kama dunya gaya solingo yebere oh ya nunga ngewala kama dunya gaya lunana
Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga
soli kabunyani soli kondi kabunyani wai bodo madi alanga pelenga enjoy bodo madi alanga pelenga enjoy kama hando nyanga yake banga spera boga wai nunga ke wala
Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga
nunga ngoyendiga soli ngoyebere wai nunga ngebo balona ngoyebere wai kama hando nyanga ya soli ngoyebere waya kama hando nyanga ya nunga ngoyendiga oh nunga ngebo balona Yesu litakolobia
Abifekwa jiwanga
nunga ngoyebere soli kondi ngebo balona wai kama hando nyanga ya lunana ngoyebere wai bodo madi alanga pelenga enje oh kondi nyikbe alanga pelenga enje kama hando nyanga ya lunana ngebo ngoyebere lunana wai nunga ngebo balona Yesu litakolobia
Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga Abifekwa jiwanga
Hello everyone, I am Edline Finney, your SBN News anchor. In our program today, we will be giving an exclusive interview to the founder and director of Sherix Broadcast Network about the network. And I ask that you bear with me for potential mistakes or errors I may make throughout this interview, as this is all new to me, though I like what I do here. But anyway, this interview is intended to shed light on many of the questions that viewers out there ask us about the station. And who else can be in a better position to answer those questions other than the man who founded the station? And so, I would like to welcome Mr. Ibrahim Sherif into the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Edline Finney. Of course, it's a pleasure to be here to answer some of the questions that people have been asking. And so hopefully I will have answers to all of those questions. So I'm really happy to be here.
Okay. We're going to go straight to the point. What inspired you to think about the idea of Sherix Broadcasting Network?
Well, first of all, I was inspired by the academic qualifications that I have. You know, I have a bachelor's degree in information technology with a concentration in technology management, and then a master's degree in networks and communications management. And so when I was finishing my master's degree, I was thinking about what am I going to do for my community. You know I'm going to be working for Uncle Sam, I'm going to be working for the United States, but what am I going to do specifically for my community, you know, the African community from which I am? And so at first I thought about starting a radio station. And so I started a radio station that went viral. You know, about 12,000 people were clicking into the station every day from around the world. So we established that in 2013, June 8, 2013, to be very precise. And so since that time, the station was doing very well. We were broadcasting news, information, education, and entertainment. And so there was a link on our website on that radio station where, you know, most of our viewers went and they sent us comments, they sent us suggestions, and most of the suggestions they were sending us was about asking us to start an online television. And so I promised them that definitely I was thinking about it. And so at the end of 2015, I finally made up my mind that by the start of 2016, we were going to start an online television. And thank God, you know, I want to say a lot of thanks to the Almighty God for making it possible for me to make that dream a reality. And of course, now that Miss Edline Finney is here helping me out with all of it, I think it's a blessing. You know, it's a blessing because she is doing it and she's one of my critiques. She's just helping out with everything. So I am delighted that she is here.
As you and I know, TV broadcasting requires a lot of time, focus, concentration, energy, and other resources such as money. How confident are you that you will not get tired of all of it?
Well, you know, definitely I will not get tired of it because, you see, it's about passion. This is my passion. This is something that I love to do. I mean, can you imagine when I'm at work doing my job, you know, I'm talking about my regular job, when I take a lunch break, all I'm thinking about is this network. My friends that I call, all the friends that I have, we talk about this network. Either they help me with information, they send me news items, they call me, oh, Sherif, do you know what has happened? We have this for you. Let me send you the video right now. Let me send you the picture right now. So it is really my passion. And anything that you are passionate about, you will not get tired of it. And so I don't think that it will ever occur in my life for me to get tired of what I'm doing. And so talking about the money part, that is something that we are working on. But of course, if it is for money, I will not be able to do what I'm doing right now. I mean, can you tell me, ladies and gentlemen watching, that I will be able to pay this beautiful lady out here? I will not. I don't even have the money. I mean, I don't have the money. I cannot even buy a single thing that she can wear. But you know what? It's not about money. She is here with me. We are doing this together. It's about promoting causes for our country, for Sierra Leone, for Africa, positive things. And so our passion is letting us do this. And once it is about our passion, I don't think we'll ever get tired of it.
Are you currently making money out of this or not?
Definitely we are not making money out of this at all right now. We are not making money out of this. We are spending our own money. Nobody is paying us. We are not asking anybody to pay us or to even advertise with us. But we'll come to that point because the thing about us, we want to be professional. We're going to start professionally and we're going to end professionally. And once we get to that point, people are going to be asking you, how much will I pay you for you to do this for us? Because it's going to look so professional that when we get to that point, people are actually going to be pouring in money, because this is a community broadcasting station. You see two of us here doing this. We have our reporters back in Sierra Leone, but it doesn't end there. It is a community broadcasting network wherein we expect you out there watching us right now. If there's anything that you see out there that you think it is important for us to broadcast, please let us know. If you are thinking about a program that you want to present yourself, you don't have to be in Houston for you to present your program. All you have to do is to contact us, and we'll be able to create an environment for you to do that, because this belongs to all of us. It's just that it started with us, and we are the technicians handling all the technical aspect. But apart from that, it is not about money, and we are doing this because, again, we are passionate about it, and we know that you appreciate what you see because of the programs that we cover, the things that we talk about, the videos that we show you are all very beneficial to us. And this is something that we have not been doing before. We have never had it in our community. So if this is coming to us now, we embrace it, So it's not about money.
The station is called Sherix Broadcast Network. How did that name come about?
That name, well, actually, the dream was that this thing that I started, it was one day after college. I was on my finals doing my master's degree. And so I thought about, starting a radio station. But then I thought about it that this thing that I'm starting is going to grow big. And once it's big, what am I personally going to benefit out of this? I don't want money from this for myself. I don't want to build mansions from this. I don't want to buy luxurious cars from this. All I want is for me to be able to provide information, education, and entertainment to people out there who follow us. And so the only thing that I would like to get out of this is for my family name to be a little associated with it. So the word Sherix is actually Sherif. But I just decided not to call it Sherif, but Sherix, And so that was the suggestion that I even made to my board members, that if they are going to think about any changes, please leave that name alone, or just the name. So that can be my own satisfaction personally, that at least, after us, our children will come and they will take over and they will continue in that same name. I don't know if Headline is going to want to add our name to it, but I don't know yet.
What exactly does the station broadcast?
Basically, we broadcast news, and of course, that's what you heard, Miss Finney. That's what you heard. You are the news anchor here. We broadcast news, and most times, what we try to do, we try to incorporate news items as presented by Sierra Leonean newspapers. We have a lot of Sierra Leonean newspapers that report on very important stuff that happened in Sierra Leone, and so we take some of those items every week and we present it to you for you to see. Those of you who are not in Sierra Leone buying those newspapers on the streets, but now we have created a way for us to read what those newspapers are publishing directly. So we broadcast news. We also broadcast information that are very important, just like we broadcast information about the city streets in Sierra Leone, Makeni Bo Kenema, the city streets. Of course, we broadcast to you about the census report that we just received from Statistics Sierra Leone. We broadcast that to you. We broadcast to you the flooding that took place in Sierra Leone, the fires that continue to happen in Sierra Leone. Any information that we think are beneficial to our viewers are the kind of things that we broadcast. We also broadcast entertainment. And what do we mean by that? We promote musical artists and other artists from Sierra Leone and other parts of Africa, because we have very talented Sierra Leoneans and Africans, but their talents are not being felt by people out there. Their talents are not being used the right way. And so we are using our platform to promote them, for people to know about them, to know that these are the kind of talents that we have. And sometimes we even invite them and talk to them directly. They tell us about their music careers and other things that they plan to do. So these are the kinds of things that we broadcast. Of course, we broadcast sports. We broadcast the weather forecast. because of the kind of very strong weather issues that took place in Sierra Leone. We thought that it is necessary for us to start telling people about the forecast, the weather forecast, 5 days weather forecast, 10 days weather forecast, so they know what is going to happen 10 days, So basically, that is what we do. All right, that is what we broadcast.
How do people get to see what we broadcast live?
People can see our broadcast in two different ways. One, they can go on our YouTube channel. You go to youtube.com, you search for Sherix Broadcast Network, and you click to go to our channel. Once you are on our channel, you should be able to see all the broadcasts that we've done, the recorded versions. Or if you want to see us live, there is a live window that you can click on and you'll see everything that we are broadcasting. Like what we are broadcasting right now, you can see that live. Or you can actually see us on our website. You go on our website at www.sherixwebradio.net and you'll be able to see what we are broadcasting. So people can see what we are broadcasting in two ways. But there is a plan for us to extend it to Africa, to Sierra Leone specifically, wherein we'll be giving an hour or two on a rare television channel, a cable channel or satellite channel in Sierra Leone, and whatever we are broadcasting for 2 hours, you should be able to see it in Sierra Leone. So in Sierra Leone, you don't need an internet for you to watch us. You will need to hook up to the right station that is broadcasting what we are broadcasting from here. And there is also a long-term plan for us to actually have our own channel in Sierra Leone. Like when you go to channel 23, what you see is Sherix Broadcast Network. That is something we are working on as well. But for now, you can go to YouTube or you go on our website to see what.
Many of the programs you broadcast are very informative and educational to Sierra Leoneans all over the world. But it could be more beneficial if the broadcast is seen on television in Sierra Leone. Are there any plans for that to happen anytime soon?
Yes, definitely. A couple of days ago, I was in conversation with some of the guys in the media business in Sierra Leone, guys in the newspaper business, in the television business, in the radio business. We had a lengthy conversation, and I want to say a lot of thanks to a politician in Sierra Leone, Honorable Alpha Timbo. He was the former Secretary General of the Sierra Leone Teachers Union. This guy saw what we are doing. He became very much highly impressed with what we are doing. He was in Nigeria when I gave him an interview, and he was impressed because other Nigerians were looking at what we are doing. So as soon as he returned to Sierra Leone, he decided to talk to the media house in Sierra Leone to work with me and to see how we can, carry our broadcast over there. So right now we are actually working together with the media guys in Sierra Leone, and surely, in fact, I just received an email yesterday from one of them, and so hopefully we are going to talk about how we are going to let this broadcast be seen in Sierra Leone as well. So this is something we are working on as well. So hopefully, yes, Headline, you might be broadcasting news from Freetown someday soon.
We understand that somewhere in the Constitution of Sierra Leone there's a strong emphasis on the freedom of the press or media, but often we see that journalists are being intimidated by governments for covering certain important stories in Sierra Leone. Do you think Sheikh will be able to stand that heat from government?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends, because you see, the thing that happens is this is not new to Sierra Leone. I mean, it's not new to other African countries. Countries in Africa do this all over the place. They are always intimidating journalists. They are intimidating media house, and there is an obvious reason for them doing this is because the media houses are uncovering some of the dubious things that they do. I mean, for example, if you are in government, you are supposed to protect the lives and property of the people, the citizens. So if that is not happening, then the media is the only outlet that will be able to make it possible for the people to see what the truth is, what is happening. And so once you do it that way, the government has the power to clamp down on journalists. So these things happen. So I cannot rule myself out or Sherix Broadcast Network out as becoming a victim of that kind of intimidation in the future. Matter of fact, because of what we do now, using technology to do our broadcast. Nobody is able to stop us. We are doing our broadcast from United States, and everybody is seeing it around the world. So it might not sit well with certain operatives in government, because we are talking about certain issues that they don't want the world to know about. But we know that that is the essence of democracy. That is the essence of living in a civilized world, wherein you talk about issues and you think that people who are in position of authority will be able to provide solutions to problems. But the other thing that is key is, as a journalist or as a media house, you always do your level best to stay neutral on issues. You don't want to take side. You don't want people to perceive you as backing a particular group or a particular individual, or promoting the interests of associations or groups, organizations. You don't want to be known for that. You want to stay in the middle. Whatever you do on the left, do on the right. Stay in the middle and don't take any side. When you do that, I don't think government will have any reason to clamp down on you. We have any reason to do anything to you that would be classified as intimidation. So far, from the radio station, we were able to talk to quite a lot of people in government. We spoke to the spokesman for the government of Sierra Leone on very critical issues. We grilled him with critical questions, but he was able to answer our questions very well, with no malice, with no intimidation, because he knows that those questions we asked him were very, very legitimate questions. They were very neutral questions, So basically, I am hoping that with the way we will do things here at Sherix Broadcast Network, we will not be intimidated by anybody.
Because everything in Sierra Leone nowadays seems to be influenced by politics. Therefore, some may say that Sierra Broadcast Network has a political bias. Is SBN a political biased TV network?
Definitely it is not. And of course, guys, I want you to know, if this station was a politically biased station, this lady would not be sitting here right now. You see, Headline is a critique. She's a perfectionist. Anything that she is doing, she want to do it to perfection. And so if we are doing anything that looks like we are backing a particular political party, trust me, she will not be here. So that is one of my strongest bones, one of my strongest things, that I have her here to critique me, to make suggestions to me, to tell me what we can do and what we cannot do. And apart from that, we, throughout our broadcast, if you have been following us, you can tell that we have stayed neutral. Like last week, we talked about the opposition Sierra Leone People's Party. This week, we are going to talk about the All People's Congress, the incumbent government. That's what we are going to. So once you talk about the left, you talk about the right. And again, you have to stay neutral. Because when you stay neutral, then people will believe you. People will trust your news. You know, so we are not politically biased. We are not supporting anybody. We are all human beings. We might belong to different organizations, different groups, different associations, political parties, yes. But to say we are using this platform to promote specific interests, no, we're not doing that. We are neutral. So don't be afraid if you are on the other side to come along.
In one way or the other, the TV network will need the flow of money to ensure it continues to broadcast. What plans do you have to make sure that the network has the money it needs to continue to finance its operation?
Well, yeah, basically right now, we are just using our own personal finance to do what we do. You know, like driving around. We don't have money to pay anybody right now. So, but basically, what we do now is driven by our passion. But ultimately, when we grow, we are going to need money to continue to operate. And what are we going to do about that? We have been thinking about two ways for us to be able to do that. One, we are thinking about going a business. Two, we are thinking about going non-profit. So when we started this, we put a business plan together, two different types of business plans. One was focused on doing it as a business, and the other was focused on doing it as a non-profit. But the board members are again going to meet to talk about the best way possible. When we decide to go business, we are going to need capital, a lot of money to start this as a business, because there are quite a lot of gadgets that we are going to need. But if we decide to go non-profit, then of course we are going to rely on donations that will come in from people like you watching right now. And so we use these donations to be able to finance our operations. And of course, you know that when you donate, if you live in the United States, at the end of the year, you'll be able to get some of that money back that you have donated, because we are a 501c. And of course, us being a 501c, according to regulations, we are supposed to spend 1% of whatever money we raise in the United States. We are supposed to spend 1% on an entity that is resident in the US. So we are also going to do our share, and other people are going to do their own share. So definitely that is what we are going to do. But for now, we are financing ourselves, but in the future, we are going to come up with a plan. But again, don't be afraid. This network is going to continue. So money is never going to stop us.
If there are people out there who may want to help the station through donation of cash, check, materials, and equipment, what information is there for them to follow?
Well, on our website, www.sherixwebradio.net, there is a donation button that you can click on. That donation button takes you to our PayPal account. You can use that to make generous donations to us. In the past, when we were operating the radio, some people made donations, but we didn't make a lot of money out of that, which is not bad. I would still appreciate, because by nature, as Africans, we love free stuff. That's good, no problem. We are not complaining. But we are also going to come up with another way for us to able to send information out there for people to actually donate money to us or give us money. We are going to put our numbers out there. Of course, you are going to have Headline Finis number. You're going to have my number. If there's anything that you want to donate, either a check or something that you want to do physically, you can call any one of us, and we will be able to accept, and we'll move on from there. All right, we are registered with the IRS with an employer identification number, and so we are, well established. But for now, you can use the PayPal on our website to make donations in case you want to do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. Indeed, you have provided very valuable information for our viewers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Ibrahim Sherif, founder and director of Sherix Broadcast Network. To our viewers, you can always see this interview live via the recorded version on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and search for Sherix Broadcast Network. From there, you will be able to see this interview. Thank you once more.
Salon to the most beautiful country on planet Earth. With Jamdi, Sammy, and Shane Daddy on the mic. Happy 53rd birthday, Mama Salon. Happy birthday. Peace from Jimmy B. Jamdi.
I let me land in Sierra Leone. Green, white, and blue, I will honor you. You're not the lion, African icon. Slave trade, colonialism, and war, but it's in Napke. Mende, Semene, Limba, Rio, Shabro, Kisie, Madino, Alingo, Kurako, Yaluka, Kona. Cream rice, susu, and fula. 53 years, I throw a salute for the salon. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon. 53 years. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon. 53 years. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon. Celebrate
with this great nation, Sierra Leone, Lion Mountain, Athens, West Africa, you visit one time, all 10, you go let for car. Me na salon bobo, yes, and I'm really proud of that. I wear on like a badge, any side go I value. Mama salon, now you want go get to. No other place to the world go call we Omo. Hills so green, beaches so white, ocean so blue, it's incredible. Green, white, and blue, I go fight for you. Then if you count to the worst, I go die for you. Cause it's not motherland, who for honor. Any other side where you go, then go tell you send a foreigner. I pledge me love and me loyalty. 53 years, God bless you.
Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon, 53 years. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon, 53 years. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon, 53 years. Hip, 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 hooray. Let we celebrate Mama Salon, 53 years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 53 years after independence, that was then. I think it's 55 years now after independence. We got to celebrate Mama Sierra Leone. Of course, Sierra Leoneans love their country, and that's why we always talk about Sierra Leone. Of course, we want to say a lot of thanks and appreciation to Jimmy B and the crew for doing that song. Of course, that's how we're going to end our broadcast this evening. But before we end that broadcast, we are going to bring you answer to our radio. But before we bring that answer to our radio, we want to talk to you a little bit about our broadcast today. Of course, the major part of our broadcast today was focused on talking about the All People's Congress. Like we talked about the SLPP in our last broadcast, today we covered this All People's Congress, or the APC. And so, from the historical perspective that we brought to you, the chronological history that we brought to you today, you were able to know that the formation of APC came about as a result of a breakaway from the SLPP, or a breakaway from the group that was putting plans together to bring independence to Sierra Leone. All right. So whilst that talk was going on, and that conversation with the British government was led by Sir Miti Magai in London, whilst that conversation was going on, Shaka Probin Stevens, who is the founder of the APC, felt within himself, instincts within himself, that Sir Miti Magai was too powerful, that he was now talking to these British guys. And so inside of himself, he thought that we have to form another political party to bring this all-powerful Sir Miti Magai down. And so Sir Miti Magai's own younger brother, Albert Magai, joined forces with Shaka Stevens first to form the PNP, that is the People's National Party, which was dubbed as Pekin na Pekin, right? And so the two of them came together and formed that party, and they were operating in there. And then there was a news from London that finally the British government has accepted the offer of returning Sierra Leone to independence, so to give independence to Sierra Leone from British colonial rule. And so because of that, Sir Albert Magai broke away from Shaka Stevens and returned back to the SLPP. And then that made Shaka Stevens to form the All People's Congress together with some other folks, and they held their first meeting on Elba Street in Eastern Freetown. And so the idea of the concept upon which the APC was formed was based on a radical concept based on socialist ideas. And so they came in as this political party that was there to properly represent the voices of the to represent the voice of to represent the voiceless. All right. And so because of that socialist approach to whatever they did, they gained popularity. But in order for them to disrupt the independence conversation, the independence talks that were going on in London, Shaka Stevens was able to put together a formidable team that gained support from the Northern Province and pockets of Western area, and for them to embark on the campaign of violence and thuggery in order to disrupt the independence, because Shaka Stephen wanted elections before independence because he thought he was so popular in the country that he was going to win elections. And so he wanted election before independence, whereas Sami Timaga and the others wanted the independence before the elections. And so that led to quite a lot of violence in the country, and that violence continued all the way to 1967, where there were so many military coups, coup after coup. Brigadier David Lansana first, and then overthrown by junior officers from the military, and then they were overthrown by by Junction Smith, and then Junction Smith was overthrown by the warrant officers, and then the Governor General Tijansi had to bring Shaka Stephen back to power. And then when Shaka Stephen was in power, there were also other military coups, and so finally an APC-dominated parliament passed a bill in parliament declaring Sierra Leone as a one-party state. And so Sierra Leone remained under that political system, one-party state, for almost 25 years, until 1991 when, retired Major General Joseph Saidu Momo declared that multi-party elections can now take place in Sierra Leone, or multi-party democracy was now permitted in the country. That's when the opposition Sierra Leone People's Party and other political parties again started resurfacing. So we have given you the story, all right? And so the SLPP won the proportional elections in 1996. Of course, before that, there was a military overthrow of the APC, by the NPLC, and of course, Shaka Stephen, Joseph Saidu Momo was now overthrown. And so the SLPP came to power. It ruled for 10 to 11 years. And of course, APC is now in power since 2007. It's been in power. And the president in place right now has run the office of the president for 2 terms. And that is supposed to come to an end at the end of 2017. So the next presidential and parliamentary elections in Sierra Leone is supposed to be taking place either at the end of 2017 or early 2018. So that's what we have for you tonight. But this is a historical lesson for members of the APC, for you to understand what your political party is and upon which concept the political party was formed, and what are the legacies, what has been its style of governance, what are the historical steps that it had followed, and are those historical steps similar to what the party is engaged in right now. We also brought you a perspective on what the president right now, His Excellency Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma, who is president of Sierra Leone, what are the legacies he's leaving behind? How Sierra Leoneans are going to remember him? We brought you all of that. All right. So we are very delighted that we were able to come to you today, and that, of course, you followed us. And so that is our broadcast for tonight. Of course, our next broadcast is going to cover a group that we call the Global Youth Community, the GYC. Of course, that is the Global Youth Community. This particular organization is about youth around the world. All right. They are currently engaged in activities in Washington, D.C., but they are all over the world. And so Sierra Leone is represented in that group. And a group that is representing Sierra Leone in that group is called Campaign for National Unity Sierra Leone. And so we're going to be talking to them next on our next broadcast. Of course, we're going to be talking to the leadership of that group from Freetown to the United States. We're going to be talking to the national coordinator of the CNU, the Campaign for National Unity in the United States. And of course, we are also going to be bringing you photos and videos of the activities in Sierra Leone, because this weekend that we are in right now, they have just commemorated on behalf of all of the youths who sacrificed their lives during the Ebola crisis in Sierra Leone. As you know, when the Ebola struck our country, it was the youth who came out in their numbers to work in the medical facilities, to work with the ambulances, to bury the dead, to pick up the dead, and all of that. Some of them lost their lives. And so we are going to be talking to the group that is representing them right now. So that's going to be our broadcast next week. Once more, my name is Ibrahim Sharif, and I came to you today from studio number 8, based here in Houston, Texas. Of course, want to say peace to you for watching. All right? Thank you very much. Oh, of course, before we finally go tonight, we are going to bring you an answer to the riddle. Of course, we don't have the answer board right now, but of course, I'm going to bring you the answer to the riddle right now. We just want you to hold a piece. Somebody just called and reminded us, and so we're going to bring that to you right now. Of course, the riddle for this week was, what room can no one enter? Right? What room can no one enter? And the answer to that riddle is, of course, mushrooms. Mushrooms. M-U-S-H-R-O-O-M. That's the only room nobody can enter. Mushrooms. So that's the answer to our riddle for this week. Okay? And so we are hoping that you got us loud and clear out there. Of course, we are just trying to see how people can work out their mental. How people can work out their brains a little bit. It's some kind of mental exercise that we wanted to see that people are engaged in. And so we want to say a lot of thanks to you once more for following us. And of course, join us on our next broadcast to bring you live information about the GYC, the CNUSL. All right? And that is the global youth community in which Sierra Leone is being represented by the Campaign for National Unity Sierra Leone. And so we are going to be bringing that to you in our next broadcast. So I want to say thank you to you for watching us and for everything. All right then. Bye-bye.